What are you doing? The ceremony has started. It was our daughter, Emily's wedding. Despite being the bride's dad, my husband hadn't shown up even when it was time for the ceremony. He wasn't at home either. Worrying he might have been in an accident, I kept calling him over and over. Finally, after the ceremony had started, I managed to get a hold of him. Hearing Stephen's voice, I instinctively raised mine. My bad, got caught up in some emergency work, Stephen said, chuckling. His voice didn't sound rushed, unlike mine. I was flabbergasted, hearing such disbelief on the other end of the phone. There was no way I could forgive Stephen for screwing up on such an important day. Then, someone who wanted to talk to Stephen appeared. I quietly handed over the mobile phone to that person. Little did I know then, this call would be the start of Stephen's downfall. My name is Morgan. I'm a housewife who just turned 60. Though I say housewife, until just the other day, I was working as an office clerk. I had just reached the retirement age and had become a housewife, which I had longed for. My husband, 2 years my junior, is Stephen. He works at a different company, but, like me, Stephen is also an office worker. We met in high school. Stephen joined the track and field team I was a part of, which was the start of it all. Stephen here. Pleased to meet you. Stephen's first impression, with his energetic greeting, was not bad at all. He was serious about practice and a hard worker. Raised in a single-parent household, Stephen was well-mannered and very grounded. But no matter how great a person he was, to me, Stephen was just a junior. However, Stephen, for some reason, took a liking to me. After he asked me out, I turned him down at the time, but we met again at a club gathering years later. Seeing you again after so long, I realized again I'd be happy with you in my life. I just can't do it with anyone else. I want us to date, with marriage in mind. He asked me out again. Moved by his long-standing feelings for me, we started dating. Stephen was very kind, and I spent every day very happily. When we started dating, both of us were working and couldn't find much free time. Despite the busy days, Stephen never missed contacting me, and he spent all his paid leaves on me. When he proposed, he prepared my favorite flowers and booked the top floor room of a hotel. With you, Stephen, I think I can be happy. The words Stephen once said to me, I also deeply felt them and accepted his proposal at the peak of happiness. Soon after getting married, we were blessed with a child, a boy we named Seth. After giving birth to Seth, I returned to work 3 months postpartum. However, maybe due to overdoing it, I fell ill. Still, I somehow managed to balance work and childcare, and a few years later, we were expecting our second child. I was happy, but balancing the pregnancy and a busy life wasn't easy. So, one day, I discussed it with Stephen. Stephen, I'm thinking of quitting my job. I thought Stephen would accept my suggestion. However, upon hearing my words, Stephen made a grim face. What? Quit? I'll talk it over with Mom. Okay. I was displeased that Stephen didn't decide right away, but my mother-in-law, Sophia, helped with childcare, including sending the kids to the childcare center. To me, she was a wonderful mother-in-law, so I nodded to Stephen's words and went to discuss it with Sophia. What? Quit your job? What are you thinking? Childcare costs money. I won't allow quitting. But Sophia's words shattered my hopes. But, hearing Sophia's words, I clenched my fist. Noticing my distress, Stephen gently placed his hand on my shoulder. Now. If Mom says so, let's try harder, okay? Morgan, you can do it. Leave Seth and the baby to me, and both Morgan and Stephen need to earn money properly. Don't try to take it easy using the kids as an excuse. I bit my lip hard. I'm not trying to take it easy at all. And Sophia should know I'm not feeling well. I looked at Stephen pleadingly, but he quickly averted his gaze from me. It was a shock. Later, when we got home and I was feeling down, Stephen spoke to me. You understand what Mom's saying, right? I do, but if it was going to be like this, I wish we hadn't discussed it at all. We're a family, we have to discuss things. Well, let's try our best, okay? In the end, Stephen kept saying we should try our best, but he never took my side. Looking back, Stephen always had a habit of saying consult with Mom whenever something came up. I was foolish not to have realized it sooner, but we were unknowingly being manipulated by Sophia's desires. I won't be a bother to Sophia. We have savings, and we'll economize. We can get by on just your salary, so I'm going to quit. Out of a slight sense of rebellion towards Sophia, I declared this to Stephen. Then, Stephen began to get angry as if a fire had been lit under him. I said let's try our best, didn't I? Mom also said not to run away from responsibilities to the kids. There's nothing wrong with what Mom says. That's not true. She's human, doesn't mean she's always right. I've been kind to you because Mom said to be kind to your wife. You felt happy because of it, didn't you? I inadvertently swallowed my words. Because I wondered what that meant. Wait, what are you talking about? I started to say, then stopped. I was certain of it. Stephen was just a puppet being manipulated as Sophia wished, and I finally realized it. If the reason he was kind to me was because Sophia told him to be. I had a bad feeling. Even though all our memories could turn from sweet to sour, I couldn't help but ask. Wait, did you say you love me because your mom told you to say so? It was Mom who said you'd make a good wife. She liked you when she came to watch the track meet in high school. That's why I came to like you too. Mom is never wrong. I was shocked and appalled. I couldn't believe that Stephen's feelings for me were sparked by Sophia's words. But the fact that Stephen came to love me and we built a happy family together remains true. Believing that as long as I listened to Stephen, who listens to Sophia, we could continue to be happy. That's why I chose to keep working and raising our kids without quitting my job. And as expected, it was tough. We must have made the kids endure a lot. Yet, we never had to worry about money, and we managed to enjoy family trips once a year. Although I was slightly dissatisfied that Sophia always decided the destination, seeing the happy faces of our children made the trips enjoyable for me. And that became my motivation to keep trying, no matter how hard it was. But as the kids grew a bit, Stephen said, I think having 3 siblings is good. Mom says so too. What? I was taken aback. Stephen was certainly kind, but he never helped with housework or childcare. We are a dual-income couple. Whenever I said I wanted to share the housework, he would say something unbelievable like, men shouldn't have to do that kind of thing. Besides, Mom helps out with my share, right? She even takes care of sending the kids to the childcare center and helps out when you're sick. Half in disbelief, I asked again. Did Sophia tell you that because you're a man, you don't have to do anything? That's right. But it's only natural, isn't it? Stephen answered my question without any sense of guilt. Stephen not finding anything wrong with this was one thing, but Sophia was another. She may wish for her son Stephen's happiness and want to give advice, but Stephen is already a grown man. I think she shouldn't meddle too much. I've been thinking, isn't it pathetic to always do exactly as Mom says? I couldn't help but ask Stephen. But, honestly, I'm happy now because I've followed Mom's advice. It was pointless to say anything more to Stephen. Even if we wanted to have a discussion as a couple, Sophia was always indirectly involved. Every time Stephen mentioned Mom, my frustration was about to burst, so one day, I decided to negotiate directly with Sophia. Sophia, please don't tell Stephen to do this or that too much. Sophia's eyes widened at my words. What do you mean? I just want Stephen to be happy. You give advice and instructions to your children, don't you, Morgan? My kids are still children. They don't know what's right, so I give advice to help them make their own decisions. But Stephen is an adult. He always thinks whatever you says is right, so he can't make his own decisions. Sophia frowned unhappily at my words. What are you saying? Am I the bad guy here? That's not what I'm saying. I just want Stephen to have more opportunities to think for himself. Following Sophia's orders all the time isn't good for anyone. So you're saying that I'm the problem here? In the end, Sophia remained stubborn, no matter what I said. It's frustrating when communication fails like this. And so, I left my in-laws' home, unable to get Sophia to understand. A few days later, it was obvious that Stephen had become distant towards me. The cause was surely Sophia. She must have said something. Knowing it was a foregone conclusion, I decided not to say anything and just carried on as usual. Years passed. The children grew up and left home. Since I had confronted Sophia directly, Stephen had stopped using the word mom. Perhaps Sophia told him not to use the phrase mom says, and he was respecting that, but I'm not sure. Now that it's just the two of us, it suddenly feels lonely, doesn't it? One day, I said to Stephen, "Don't be selfish. Mom has been living alone all this time. She's elderly, we need to do something for her." Right. Stephen said, looking away from me as if it was awkward for him to mention Mom. Indeed, I had been thinking about what Stephen said for some time. Despite everything, Sophia had helped with raising the grandchildren, and I was grateful. I had been considering living with her. Then one day, I got a call from Emily. She was getting married. I was very happy with the unexpected news and immediately shared it with Sophia and Stephen. However, their expressions were not joyous. Getting married, just like that. She decided without consulting us? That's what Stephen said first upon hearing the news. How could she make such an important decision on her own? What kind of person is the partner? Sophia reacted completely opposite to happiness as well. Feeling embarrassed by their reactions, I murmured. I had heard she was dating someone from work. He seems like a very kind person, and Emily looks happy with him. I hadn't met the partner myself, only heard about him from Emily and seen happy photos of them on social media, so my knowledge of him was limited. But still, this was my child's choice of a lifelong partner. I understand their concerns, but I felt displeased with Stephen and Sophia's negative approach. How can you be so happy when you've never even met him? Thinking back, Emily has always made her own decisions, hasn't she? High school, university, even getting a job was like that. And they started to complain. I interrupted their words, trying to break the negative atmosphere. Anyways, it's Emily's decision. I haven't met him either, but Emily chose him. I trust her decision. Sophia, Stephen, you should have a little faith in Emily too. Stephen laughed at my words as if mocking the idea of trust. Trust? She's still practically a child in her 20s. Letting such a child make a life-changing decision is insane. There was no point in arguing. Though I felt displeased with his words, I just whispered, "Just please meet him," and tried to settle the matter. Then, Emily's boyfriend, Yadil, and I, along with Stephen and Sophia, had a family meeting. Honestly, I thought Sophia had no business being there, but Stephen invited her. Nice to meet you. I'm Yadil. Just like Stephen once did, Yadil greeted us with a slightly nervous demeanor. To me, he was just the fine young man I had imagined. Sophia and Stephen asked Yadil various questions and even showed him smiles at times, which relieved me. I thought they both had a good impression of him. However, after he left, they both started mocking him in unison. Choosing someone like that, Emily must be out of her mind. Deciding on her own like that. I can't believe it. She must be being deceived by him. That smile is so suspicious. To be fooled by someone like that, Emily is still just a child. I was dizzy from their hypocrisy. They had been all smiles and saying, "Take good care of Emily." And then they flipped their stance as soon as he left. It was vulgar beyond measure. What's worse, it didn't stop at just talking behind his back. Sophia and Stephen also directly told Emily to reconsider the marriage. How terrible! They put on a good face when Yadil was here, only to oppose it later. Naturally, Emily rebelled and was outraged. I'll try to convince Dad and Grandma. They'll surely understand. I sided with Emily and tried to soothe her. In the end, Sophia and Stephen continued to oppose until the last. Poor Emily. And Yadil is such a good person, isn't he wonderful? Whether he's wonderful or not is besides the point. What bothers me is that she didn't consult us parents at all. I tried to persuade them multiple times, but Stephen was stubborn on that point. It sounded like an excuse a primary schooler would make, but it seemed to be a deep-rooted issue for him, leading to his absence from the family meetings with both families. Yadil must have thought he was accepted when he came to greet them, but he seemed puzzled by Stephen and Sophia's attitude afterwards. Emily's dad must be feeling lonely because Emily is getting married. Yadil's mom tried to cover for Stephen's absence from the family meeting, suggesting that he was just feeling lonely. She must think it's unreasonable in her heart but seemed to pity me, continuously bowing my head in thanks. I was grateful for her consideration. If you want to get married, go ahead. I won't help. In the end, Stephen consented to the marriage in such a manner. I thought to myself, who does he thinks he is, but I didn't say anything. Yadil works hard, and Emily does too. I thought they wouldn't need our help. Surely, if Stephen spends more time with Yadil, he'll recognize his good qualities. I decided to tell Emily to proceed with the wedding plans. I wonder if Dad and Grandma will come to the wedding. Emily, worried that they weren't happy about the marriage, sounded vulnerable. It'll be fine. They're adults, after all. I said this to reassure Emily. I was anxious too, but Sophia had come to consult me about which dress to wear, and Stephen had taken the day off for the bride's father's outfit fitting. Despite their complaints, they probably wished for Emily's happiness. And so, we completed the preparations smoothly and the wedding day arrived. I had to leave the house earlier than Stephen because of makeup. The groom's father needs to be ready by 10 o'clock. Make sure to come by then. Don't be late. I know. Stephen responded to my call without taking his eyes off the TV. And then, at the promised 10 o'clock. After I finished my makeup, a staff member from the venue came to me. The bride's father hasn't shown up yet. What? I'm sorry. I'll call him right away. Despite my warning not to be late, that's what I thought as I immediately called Stephen. But there was no answer. After several attempts, the phone just kept ringing emptily. Initially, I was angry, but gradually, I became more anxious and worried that something might have happened to him. Mom, what's wrong? At that moment, my eldest son, Seth, spoke to me. Dad hasn't shown up. What? Have you got in touch with him? That's the thing, he's not answering his phone. It looks like he hasn't seen the messages either. Seth patted my shoulder, trying to calm me down. I'll go check at home. Stay calm. If he had gone back home, it would be just in time for the ceremony. I couldn't leave. Seth's words were truly a relief at that moment. Okay. Thank you. Be careful. Thanks to him, I was able to regain my composure. I continued to call Stephen every few minutes. But the phone just kept ringing as before. During that time, I received a call from Seth. Dad's not at home, and the door is locked. Then, maybe he's on his way. Thank you. I told Seth to come back to the venue, and I waited for Stephen. However, Stephen did not show up at the venue at all. Even though Seth had returned, Stephen still hadn't arrived. By the way, where's Grandma? Seth, who had come back to the venue, asked me. Distracted by Stephen's absence, I hadn't noticed that Sophia was also missing. Could it be? A bad feeling crossed my mind. They might be planning to boycott the wedding together. In the end, the ceremony started without the two of them. I was waiting at the entrance with Emily. Originally, Stephen was supposed to enter with Emily, but since he was absent, it suddenly became my role. Yadil entered first, and then Emily and I were supposed to follow. During that waiting time, thinking it was the last chance, I called Stephen. Finally, Stephen answered the phone. Hello? What are you doing? The ceremony has started. Hearing Stephen's voice, I reflexively raised mine. Sorry, got caught up in some emergency work. Stephen said, chuckling. His voice didn't sound rushed, unlike mine. I was flabbergasted, hearing such disbelief on the other end of the phone. Stephen! Look, the plane's coming! That was unmistakably Sophia's voice. I was dumbfounded. I remembered the background noise on the phone. It sounded busy, suggesting they were planning to board a plane together. Okay. Disgusted, I muttered just that one word. His claim about work was obviously a big lie. But by then, I didn't feel like saying anything more. That's the situation, sorry. Enjoy the wedding. I was speechless at Stephen's cheerful voice. So, I decided not to respond and hung up the phone. After the ceremony ended smoothly and we were preparing for the reception, Yadil's mom approached me. Where is Emily's dad? He was supposed to attend today. But since I was the only one present during the ceremony, she must have had questions. I answered honestly. I thought it wasn't right to deceive someone who had been so kind with lies. It seems he went out with my mother-in-law. What do you mean? Yadil's mom asked, tilting her head, unable to grasp the meaning of my words. Anyone would think so. It's unbelievable that on his own daughter's wedding day, he would go out with his own mother. I found myself relaxing because of Yadil's mom's kindness. The kindness and the pathetic situation with Stephen almost brought tears to my eyes. Yadil's mom listened, nodding along. Then, Yadil's dad appeared. Is it possible to speak with Emily's dad now? What? Over the phone or something? I looked at Yadil's mom, who nodded, and I took out my mobile phone. Then, I started calling Stephen and handed the phone to Yadil's dad. After a few rings, Stephen casually answered. Hello? What is it? Didn't I say I'm at work? Stephen said that. Yadil's dad had put him on speaker, so the conversation was clear to hear. He cleared his throat and spoke into the phone. Hello, this is Yadil's dad. Yadil, the guy marrying Emily. Thank you for everything. Sorry about this, sudden work came up. Stephen greeted lightly, completely oblivious to the mood. That's the situation, so please go ahead and wrap up the wedding without me. Yadil's dad responded calmly. Work? Did something urgent really come up for you? Wah! How rude! You've never met me, and you're judging me? I hold an important position at my company. If you think I'm lying, ask my wife, Morgan. It's not unusual for me to be called away on my days off, Stephen said angrily. Indeed, there were times in the past when Stephen was suddenly called away due to a phone call. Although I believe it's a lie today, his statement was technically true. However, there was one person who saw through that lie. And that was Yadil's dad. Having never met is because you didn't show up for the meet and greet, and now you're not here either. And our company forbids working on holidays, so where exactly do you work? I looked up at those words. Huh? Stephen also let out a surprised voice, frozen. Sorry to say this. I kept quiet thinking it's not right to create a hierarchy here, but my husband is the vice president of the company where Emily's dad works. That voice clearly reached Stephen as well. The vice president, Stephen said with a tense voice. This is... No need for excuses. It's your prerogative how you act. But do you understand that your actions are causing trouble and sadness for Emily and Emily's mom? Well... Stephen stuttered, unable to form a coherent response. His panic was palpable even over the phone. Using work as an excuse to neglect your family is inexcusable. Especially when that work is a lie, it's indefensible. Consider whether such a person is worthy of trust as a company and rethink. Yadil's dad left those words, then hung up and handed me the phone. I quickly stood up, took the mobile phone, and bowed. Was he my husband's superior? I had no idea, and I apologize for the disrespect. However, Yadil's dad said with a smile, Please, don't apologize. I was just asked by my wife to help Emily's mom. What? Yadil's mom smiled kindly. Actually, I heard a bit about Dad and Grandma from Emily. She's always been worried about you, so I wanted to help somehow. I'm sorry if it was too much. It seems she had been informed about Stephen's behavior and workplace from Emily in advance. That's why she comforted me without saying anything about Stephen's absence at the meet and greet. I bowed deeply again, expressing my gratitude. Thank you very much. And I'm sorry. Please, don't apologize. It's a wedding celebration after all. Thanks to Yadil's parents, I finally managed to smile. The reception is about to start, let's move. The mobile phone kept ringing. It was probably Stephen panicking, but I didn't have time to deal with him. Wanting to take photos with the mobile phone, I temporarily blocked calls from Stephen. Congratulations, Emily! Moved by my beautiful daughter's appearance, I truly enjoyed the reception with a genuine smile. After the reception ended and I unblocked Stephen's calls, my phone immediately rang. Had he been calling non-stop even while blocked? Hello? I picked up the phone. What are you thinking? Answer the phone quicker. I was at the reception. So, what's up? Although I was filled with disdain and anger towards Stephen just hours ago, the wonderful wedding and Yadil's parents brought me peace. Contrary to my light-hearted tone, Stephen said. Was the vice president angry? To think, the vice president was Emily's husband's father. Why didn't you tell me? I didn't know either. Predictably, Stephen was in a state of confusion and panic. Not knowing isn't going to cut it. I'm on my way there now. I'll be there soon. What? You're coming? Of course. I have to apologize to the vice president. I sighed at his words. The wedding was over. He didn't come for the wedding but is coming to apologize to the vice president. He seemed to be flying somewhere. I wonder if he came back. As I was heading to the entrance, I saw Stephen rushing in. Stephen saw me and hurried over. Morgan! Where's the vice president? I don't know. Besides, why come now? If you could come, you should have been here from the start. My voice echoed louder than I expected, attracting attention. Fortunately, that made Yadil's parents, who were in the lobby, notice us and come over. The vice president. Oh, the manager. Work's done, is it? Yadil's dad said, almost mockingly. Stephen awkwardly looked down. I'm very sorry about today. As Stephen bowed in panic. Yadil's dad spoke sternly. You're apologizing to the wrong person. Have you apologized to Emily and Emily's mom? Stephen looked like he was about to cry. All eyes seemed to be on us. Amidst this, Stephen also bowed his head to me. Morgan, I'm really sorry. Always following Sophia's words, and now, only after being told by Yadil's dad, Stephen finally apologized to me. The anger I thought had subsided was bubbling up again. Where were you? Caught off guard by my stern question, Stephen momentarily clammed up. With Mom, thought we'd go on a trip. And? Where is this Mom? I left her. Stephen muttered in a small voice. Left her? On a trip? What if something happened to her? I pressed Stephen harder. It's fine, she wasn't alone. That remark made me question further. Not alone? Who was with her? Then, Stephen's face turned ashen. I had assumed it was just the two of them. But his expression suggested there was another person involved. No, well, there are people at the hotel, people passing by. Searching for words while panicking, Stephen laughed exaggeratedly. He must have slipped up saying he wasn't alone, and now, he couldn't backtrack. By the way, I heard the company forbids working on holidays. Where have you been going, lying about work? What? Yadil's dad crossed his arms and sighed heavily. Stephen visibly shrank under the pressure. I could only guess, but there must be someone Stephen was close to. Probably someone Sophia also approved of, and imagining it was a woman wasn't hard. I was trembling with anger. Stephen looked back and forth between me and Yadil's dad, still looking for an escape. We're getting a divorce, I said to Stephen. He looked shocked, as if he couldn't believe it. Skipping your daughter's wedding for a trip with Mom and your mistress? I don't ever want to see your face again. Stephen turned pale and stared at me. Finally realizing I was serious, he began to lower his head slowly, turning paler. Morgan, I'm really sorry. I don't want a divorce. Please forgive me. Although I had tested him, Stephen didn't deny the mistress part and began to cry, tears streaming down his face. How could I forgive you? I'm the one who should be crying. Yadil's mom gently patted my back. Feeling not alone was incredibly comforting. Holding back my tears, I told Stephen. The divorce is definite. And I'll be seeking alimony in the divorce settlement. But, Morgan, go pack your things and leave. From now on, go back to your mistress or Sophia's place. Enjoy your trip. I left him with those words and walked away. Stephen broke down crying, drawing the attention of everyone around. I ended up living with Emily. It turned out that Stephen's company's president was Yadil's maternal grandfather. and Yadil's dad was the vice president and the next president. Yadil was working at a different company for now, planning to take over his family's business eventually. Of course, I didn't know the manager directly, but to find out he's Emily's dad was a surprise. He said, smiling. Despite the terrible things I had done to him, I couldn't help but feel guilty. Yet, it was Yadil who suggested I live with them. We know Emily's dad was awful, but you're different, right? You've always been there for Emily, so Emily and I will always be on your side. Emily's choice was right after all. I was determined to support them as much as I could without being a burden. One day, the doorbell rang. It was Yadil's parents. It had been 3 months now. The last time I had met them was the wedding. We were planning to have a dinner together. Then, Yadil's dad said something difficult. We've decided to ask the manager to resign. What? Emily and I exchanged glances. I was concerned about the holiday work issue and did some digging, thinking he might have actually worked on a holiday. But instead of finding holiday work, I discovered he had claimed travel expenses for personal trips. I was stunned by his words. We've never been taken on a trip. So, it must have been Sophia and... I instinctively held my head in dismay. How much trouble does he plan to cause? At that moment, filled with a heavy atmosphere, the doorbell rang again. Yes, what? Dad? Emily's loud exclamation drew everyone's attention. Displayed on the doorbell screen was, astonishingly, Stephen. Vice President. Stephen, having been let into the house, clearly hadn't anticipated Yadil's parents being there. Seeing his apprehensive figure, he deeply bowed to us. Morgan, please, let's pretend the divorce never happened. I beg you. He uttered such nonsense again. Since that incident, we had been in the middle of divorce proceedings. Stephen absolutely refused to agree to the divorce. Stop tormenting Mom already. If you're so against the divorce, why did you cheat? I also heard about the company money you used for personal trips. It's honestly shocking to learn Dad could do such a thing. Emily yelled at Stephen. Yadil intervened, but I felt relieved hearing Emily speak up. Emily's right. I had no other choice. After raising his voice, Stephen took a moment to catch his breath before continuing. There was a time Morgan stood up to Mom, remember? I couldn't grasp the meaning of his words at first and pondered. Then, I recalled the time when the kids were small, I had directly confronted Stephen about always obeying Sophia. You mean, that incident from so long ago? Since then, Mom has been saying to divorce once the kids were grown. She said to wait until they were older to avoid losing contact with them. And after the divorce, to marry a woman Mom introduced, and that's how I got involved with her. The revelation left not only me but everyone speechless. To think Stephen had been cheating because of Sophia's instructions and that it had been going on for so long. But I still love Morgan. I don't want a divorce. The affair, I only did it because Mom told me to. Hearing his words, I felt a profound disgust for Stephen from the bottom of my heart. Physiologically unacceptable. It was repulsive. Can't you think for yourself? I'd prefer it if you had cheated on your own volition. I lashed out at Stephen. But he looked at me, puzzled. Why? It wasn't my decision. Disgusting. Just disappear from my sight. Since Sophia says so, and the kids are grown, I'll grant you your divorce. Stephen bowed repeatedly, clinging to me. But I was so repelled I shook off his hands. I'm truly sorry. Please forgive me. Mom, let's move. Wait, don't go. Stephen cried like a child, Trying to keep distance, Emily led me to another room. If you truly love someone, sometimes letting go is also an act of love. Yadil's dad's words reached my ears as I walked away, bidding farewell to the pathetic husband who had always obeyed Sophia's words. Later, with Yadil's parents' persuasion, we finally managed to go through with the divorce. But he continued to seek talks with me. Just in case, I consulted the police. A restraining order was issued, and I finally felt a deep relief. "You hurt Stephen, you bitch!" Sophia once stormed into the house, but to me, who had divorced Stephen, she was now a stranger. "I had intended to live with and care for you after retiring, but forget about this bitch." I coldly dismissed her. "What? Oh, is that so? Well, it was my fault, can't you reconsider?" However, Sophia, who had harshly insulted me, displayed a sickeningly sweet smile upon hearing my words. His situation was so comical I couldn't help but laugh. "There's no way I'd reconsider. It's good to be rid of the burden. Please have Stephen or his mistress take care of you. You're quite skilled at manipulating Stephen to your will, aren't you?" As I said this with a laugh, Sophia showed a frustrated expression and left without a word. Stephen taking care of someone was unimaginable. He hadn't even done household chores before. Moreover, I heard rumors that his mistress had left him after he lost his job. It seems Sophia and Stephen are set for a lonely old age. Serves them right. I continue to live happily with my eldest daughter and her family. I've become good friends with Yadil's mom, enjoying trips together and having fun days. Thanks to my job, I'm not struggling financially, and I've also received a settlement from the divorce proceedings. Our son, Seth, is also getting married, and Emily is currently pregnant, with endless happy news. Despite the hardships I've faced, there seems to be plenty of joy ahead. Life is still full of possibilities. I always want to choose the path that leads to my happiness. That's what I think.